In this lesson, we are going to learn how to create our own model with Blender. But first, let's talk about 3D software, because you need to choose the right software. Obviously, we are going to use Blender, but still, let's think about it. We have access to many software. We have Cinema 4D, we have Maya, we have 3ds Max, we have Blender, we have ZBrush, Marmoset 2 Substance Painter, and many other. All right? And there are different, there is a lot of different purpose, a lot of different usage. It's a matter of UX, performances, features, compatibility, prices. There are many criteria for you to choose the right software. We're going to use Blender because it's free. That's a good thing because everyone will be able to just download it. It has good performances. It's light. I mean, the weight of the file is quite light. We'll be able to download it in a few minutes. It works on most OS. If you're on Windows or Mac, don't worry, it will work. It has many good features. There is a vast community. We have a lot of updates. And since the 2.8 version, it's so much easier. The interface is just better. And it's getting better and better. But still, you should try other softwares, all right? There are features that are, I know that they are better in Cinema 4D. Like you can have a better render. It's easier to get a good render in Cinema 4D than in Blender. There are stuff like that. I'll let you discover those, like sculpting. If you want to do sculpting, you better use ZBrush, all right? You can do sculpting in Blender, but ZBrush is so much better when it comes to sculpting. And for painting, you better use Substance Painter. All right, so try them. We won't be able to try them all, but we're going to use Blender. And yeah, we are going to learn the basics. As you can see, the video is not 10 hours long, but still, it's pretty long. I think it's going to run around maybe 2 hours, maybe less. And the goal is to learn the basics and demystify the software so you can just be able to keep learning and keep improving on it. So first thing first, we are going to download Blender. So yeah, download and install it. So if you're on any OS, it should be working. You can go to the website. As always, the links are on the links panel. You can download the version. Your version might be different from mine, all right? Keep that in mind. So I will download the 2.91.0. It's automatically downloading the Mac version. It will take maybe a few seconds, few minutes. And as you can see, the software is pretty light, which is great. It's not getting heavier with the new version, which is cool. I'm going to rename it. All right, maybe I can just move it there. You know what? Let's replace anyway. All right, great. I hope I didn't broke anything in my computer. Yeah, so I'm using this one, and the lesson, I wrote the lesson with a different version, so you might see slight differences with the screenshots. I will try to keep an eye on updates that can break the lesson, but just maybe we have to be to search for the right button. Maybe it won't have the exact same icon. All right, so keep an eye on differences between your version and my version. So yeah. Let's go. We can start Blender. So just open it like any software, any app. Yes, I allow you. And here you go. So first thing first, that was fast. All right. I don't know if you already opened 3ds Max. I don't know if it got better, but years ago when I was just opening 3ds Max, I could take a coffee, walk with the dog, and came back, and it was still not open. So yeah, that's really fast, which is great. And let's talk about everything. I know there is a lot of buttons. Do not worry. At the end, you will know exactly what part you need to use in order to achieve your goal. When you open Blender for the first time, Blender will ask you for a few things. First, the language. I will keep English. No, I won't take French. Do not worry. We will have something similar if you take English too. You can choose the shortcuts. Just keep the default if you don't know what you're doing here. You can choose between select with the left click or the right click of the mouse. We're going to talk about having a mouse later. Anyway, it's because the old version of Blender used the right click to select. It was really strange, but there was some logic behind. So they try to follow the trends and get back to the left. But if people keep using the right, they can just click right here. Spacebar, you can choose what it's going to do. Play, it's when you create animation. Tool, I don't really know about this one, but me, I use a lot search, because we can search for things and we see that it can be really useful. Anyway, I will keep the default and use play so that we have the exact same version. And then the theme, I'm going to go for the Blender Dark, which is just great. And then you press next. Don't worry, if you want to change those, you can go to the preferences and change them. All right, so this is the default splash screen when you open Blender, and it's not the first time. You get some useful link. You can go there and check their tutorial, stuff like that. You have templates. All right, if you want to do skirting, maybe open this one. If you want to do 2D animation, maybe you can go for this one, because yeah, Blender, you can also do 2D stuff. You can also create games in Blender. It's not as good as Unity or stuff like that, but still you can create games inside of Blender. You can do so much with Blender. It's completely crazy. Anyway, we get those. You also get recently opened files. I don't have here because it's the first time I open Blender, and you get the version. All right. So if you see differences, maybe check the version and you will know why you have differences. By the way, you can also download an old version of Blender, but I would like you to test the latest version anyway. All right, click anywhere. So we get rid of the splash screen. We're going to talk about areas, because we need to talk about areas first. As you can see, we have a lot of things going on here, and each part you see there is called an area. So this one is the viewport area, and you can click on those to change them. We are going to change them later, but there is an icon on the top left corner of each area. So I have one here, one here, one here, one here. In fact, those one are also kind of areas, but you cannot tweak them. But yeah, it's almost everything is areas, and we can control them. They are very flexible, and you can create the area you want. You can even change this part. You can put anything you want right here. It can be really like a personal walking space, which is great. So the default area, it's a 3D viewport. So this one is called the 3D viewport. I've been moving the camera. Do not worry, I will teach you how to do that. There is the timeline. We can't see much of it. I don't know why it's that small, but still you can see that you can resize those. So this is the timeline if you want to create animations. We have the outliner, which is kind of strange. I don't know why exactly it's named outliner. It's like the scene, the scene structure, all right? It's the scene graph, and you can create object, put object inside other objects, stuff like that. And we have the properties areas, which is over there. And we are going to explain each one a little later. First, how to change an area. We are going to change the timeline. So this one is the timeline into a 3D viewport. So we already have a 3D viewport, but we are going to add another one. So click on this little icon on the bottom left. I mean, it's the top left corner of the timeline area, and choose 3D viewport. And we get two 3D viewport, and you can resize to see better. All right, cool. That's all. You can just change the areas like that. You can resize. As I show you, just put your cursor at the edge and resize it. Great. Don't worry if you mess with it. If you lost yourself, you don't know what you did, it's looking bad, close it, open it, and you will be fine. We can create new areas, and right now focus on the video. This part is the funny part, because every time my students try to do that, they get a mess with their interfaces. It can be really funny. There is always one student that gets lost with that. So to create an area, let's say we want one 3D viewport here and another one here. So the idea is not like I do right click, create new, or maybe I have to do something window, something like that. No. We have to split an area. When you want to create a new area, you must think about splitting an existing area. So if I want to create, I don't know, maybe a small one here, I'm going to split this existing one. So the properties area. All right. First, you need to understand that. So I want to split this one in half, so I can get one on the left and one on the right. To split it, look at my cursor, I go at the exact corner and inside of it. So right now we don't have a choice, it has to be inside. Actually, no, see, right now I'm above it. Okay, so if I do this here, I'm going to split this one. So I want to split this one, I put my cursor right here, all right? And then I split, so I click and I drag and drop like this. And I can split it the way I want. Let's do it again. I split like this, all right? And if you go down, be careful because you're going to split vertically. And you can get something like this and like this. And this is the kind of thing I see when my students aren't really focusing on what I'm doing. They are like, oh, it's a mess. What did I do? I can't just split it the way you split it here. So yeah, it can be something like that. You can do whatever you want. And we're going also to hide all those gizmos and stuff like that. So yeah, try to practice creating splitting areas. Obviously now you're wondering, okay, how do I get rid of the areas now? Because we just want one main area and two at the bottom. It's the opposite. So we need to unsplit an area. All right. So let's start with those. You can play with any of those. Do it with me so you can really practice. And because I want to unsplit those two areas, I will start from one of them. So I'm going to start from this one, and I want it to take over this one. So I want this one to take over this one, so they unsplit. I will put my cursor right here. See? It's on the corner of this one. I can do it there too, all right? Here or here. And then I drag and drop with the left click and see, now I am removing one. And then I release the click. And that's it. I unsplit them. If I want to unsplit those, I will do like this. So I start from the left one at its bottom right corner, and I unsplit like that. And this one, like that. And you can see like a big arrow saying, okay, the one on the top is going to take over the one on the bottom, like this. And then this one, I want this one to take over this one. I drag and drop like this. Okay, make sure you have something that looks like this. Actually, you can do whatever you want, but I like to have something like this. Let's talk about shortcuts already, but shortcuts in Blender are just awesome. You will see why. So first, there is a tons of shortcuts. We can be an issue because this is the kind of thing why beginners struggle with Blender, because there is too many shortcuts to learn. I know that. It's true, but actually, which is great, we can do almost everything without shortcuts. So I'm going to show you both with and without shortcuts, but I recommend you to learn those shortcuts. If you want to be productive, you better learn them. The first time you won't remember the shortcuts, all right? You are not a robot. You cannot just remember all the shortcuts. Just try. You can find it, search on the internet, or search on the document I will provide you. And you will find it, and the next time you will know it. Maybe not, so try again. You forgot about it, you search for it, okay, and the next time you will have it, all right? Just do it until you have it, and then it will be inside your head, and you will use those shortcuts, and you will get really productive by those shortcuts. You will see that they are really cool. So yeah, can be really useful to master. Always an alternative through the interface. So I'm going to show you how to do it with a shortcut, but then by using the interface. Not all of them, actually. There is something like maybe two shortcuts in the lesson where I don't know how to do it without in the interface. Anyway, yeah, there is something very important. Shortcuts are area sensitive, and this for beginners, trust me, it's really hard. By that, I mean that if your cursor is here and you do a shortcut, it will be different than if your cursor is here, because it's not the same area. If you do it here and here, it's the same because this is a 3D viewport, all right? So the shortcut will be the same. But if you do it there, it might be completely different. So when you want to use a shortcut, make sure that your cursor is on the right area, because they are area sensitive. I don't know if it's the right word, but I like to talk about area sensitive. They are also mode sensitive. Yeah. But our mode, I don't know yet. You will see modes in few minutes. Don't worry. And they're also OS sensitive. Well, it's not the right word. We don't say OS sensitive anyway. Sometimes it's different between Windows and Mac. I'm just talking about Windows and Mac because it's most of you guys, I think. But some might differ between Windows and Mac. I will tell you when it's the case. I told you for Windows you do that, and for Mac you do that. So do not worry. Oh, and by the way, if I say control, right now I'm using a Mac, as you can see from the interface, and I'm using a Mac keyboard. When I say control, it's control, not command. All right, for Mac users, when I say control, you use the control key, not the command. I also gave you, so you can click on the links panel. It's a document I've made. So let me show it to you. Yeah, which look like this. And I put so it opens inside the lesson, but anyway, that's not a problem. And I put all the shortcuts I'm using, and I will keep this page updated. You can access it, and if you're looking for a shortcut before doing a search on the web, maybe you can just check my document and see if you can find this shortcut. And we're going to use many of them right now. So back to the lesson. So yeah. It's recommended to use a mouse with a wheel. All right, I'm using a mouse with a wheel. Maybe you cannot see, sorry, but there is a wheel and I can push the wheel. All right, it's not mandatory. You will be fine without it, but it's really faster to use one. So I just bought this one. It was maybe like 10 euros, something like that. So yeah, it's better. So if you have one in your I don't know, closet or something like that, get it out. Plug it and you will see that it's better. Not mandatory, but better. Same thing, it's better to use a numpad, all right? Yet again, we will be able to do without it. We will see that using the interface, we can get the same result, but it's better. And if you are using a trackpad, you can use 2 fingers, all right? Just use 2 fingers. You will see I have a trackpad right here. We get something similar, that some features like the middle mouse. See, like I'm pushing the middle mouse and then moving, and I can do the same with a trackpad with 2 fingers. All right, so it really depends on your configuration, your OS, your mouse, the wheel, the trackpad, stuff like that. You will have to find it, but I will guide you. And if you are using a magic mouse, good news, you can replicate the middle mouse. To do that, you will go to edit. So it's only for Mac users with magic mouse. You go to edit, preferences, then you go to input, and you have emulate 3-button mouse right here. All right, and this will emulate a 3-button mouse by pressing this key. So it's Alt. All right, the 3-button mouse is the wheel when you push it. If you want to emulate it, you can click on that, and then you will press Alt and then click, something like that. I hope. You will test it shortly, don't worry. Yeah, so as I say, it's also better to have a numeric pad, but you can do without it. But it's really useful. All right. Still nothing but our cube and this strange triangle. Don't worry, we are getting there. So let's continue and talk about the view. We can rotate the camera by using the orbit rotate. All right. To do that, you press the middle mouse. So I press the middle mouse. I'm not scrolling. I'm not using the wheel. I'm not turning the wheel. I'm just pressing the middle mouse, which is the button 3 mouse 3 button. And then you move the mouse like this. All right. This way you can rotate around something. We are rotating around what we call a viewpoint. We cannot see the viewpoint. Maybe you're thinking that it's that strange circle, red and white, but it's not. All right. You will see later that this is kind of a problem. So yeah, we can rotate. It's orbit rotate. It's just like orbit rotate with orbit controls with 3GS. We also have access to truck and pedestal. All right, this is truck, this is pedestal. To do that, it's the same thing. So we are using the middle mouse, the wheel, and pushing it, but you also add shift. And doing so, you move like that. So you can start rotating, do it so in order to practice, and then you use the truck and pedestal like this. See? And you can do a lot of things. You can see your object from every part. Maybe there is one on the left, so you move on the left and you get it. And as you can see, it's like we're rotating around a point of view. So there is like an imaginary point right here, and we rotate around here. But we cannot see it, which is kind of a problem, I think, because sometimes you will get stuck. Like, see, I don't know, I want to get back to my my scene. I don't know. How can I go? I'm like stuck. I don't know how to go there, and you will get stuck. But I will give you some shortcuts to unstuck yourself. Yeah, by the way, track is also called track, and no, it's not pan. I know that a lot of people call this pan. I used to call this pan movement, but it's not a pan. I will show you what a pan is. Not for cooking. Then there is the dolly. So here is the dolly. You can use the wheel, and you can do that. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot, but you can do those. Let me check. By using the interface, I'm going too fast, sorry. You can use the gizmo. So for rotating the orbit control, you can use the gizmo here, and you can just drag and drop on it. All right, so yeah, I forgot. You can drag and drop the gizmo like this. If you want to do the truck and pedestal, you can use the hand, so this hand, and you can just drag and drop here. All right, there is no limit. You can go as far as you want. Where is my scene? Oh, yeah, right here. I'll show you how to get back to the scene more easily. Let me go back to the scene, please. All right, you didn't see my shortcut. And then we have a way to do the dolly. So this is the dolly, and you can use, so it's going to be the wheel, and then you rotate the wheel. All right, so you rotate the wheel, it goes forward and backward, which is not right, but you will see why. Or you can use this magnifier icon and move it, just drag and drop on it, and it will do that. The problem with this magnifier is that we cannot go beyond, so further, some kind of limit. All right, I'm trying to go further and it doesn't work. Why? Well, because the limit is the point of view. This point of view that we can see, it's right in front of me, something over there, close to the cube, but it's not the cube, it's something over there. And if I try to move, I get stuck, and you will get stuck a lot. There is a way to move forward and backward without this limit. To do that, be careful, it's Shift, Control, and middle mouse, Shift, Control, and middle mouse, and I'm drag and dropping. So middle mouse is when you press the wheel. So I Shift, Control, press the wheel, so it's the middle mouse, and then I drag and drop my mouse. And right now it's moving without a limit, all right? So it's not a magnifier, I'm not zooming in and zooming out, I'm moving forward and backward without any limit, any point of view limit or stuff like that. Unfortunately, I don't have an alternative for this one, nor in for the trackpad or the interface. Don't worry, I'm going to give you enough knowledge to not get stuck. Then there is the tilt and pan. To do that, it's a little harder. Like if I want just to rotate the camera like this, it's not orbit control, all right? Orbit control is about rotating around a point, an imaginary point. Right now, I just want to look left or look right or look up or look down. We need to change the view mode. We have to go into the walk mode. We also call it this one fly mode. If you are using a QWERTY keyboard, you can press Shift and back quote. And this is a back quote. This is not a normal quote. This is a back quote. All right. We also call this one a back tick, acute, and left quote. So there is a lot of names, and it's pretty hard to use even when coding. But still, this is a way of going into this walk mode, and then you can just rotate the camera. I'm not doing it with you because I don't have a QWERTY, so it's a French keyboard. This is garbage, but anyway, this is what we are using. And I need another solution. By the way, where to find this backquote, it really depends on your keyboard. Check, the top right corner of your keyboard. So I don't know if you will be able to see much, but it might be around here. All right. check the bottom left corner of your keyboard or very close to the enter button. All right, it might be there, there, or there. Try to find it. It really depends on your keyboard. So good luck on finding him. Anyway, I'm going to show you other solutions later. When you are searching for something and you cannot find it, there is a way. If you are using an AZERTY keyboard like me, go to Edit. We need to change the shortcut. So Edit, Preferences. We go to Key Map. We search. So Edit. Sorry, I went too fast. Edit, Preferences. We go into the key map on the left side, and inside this search box, you can search for View Navigation. And you will see that there is a View Navigation Walk Flight. So this is the mode we want to use, and we can change the shortcut. And we are going to use, so you press on it, and I'm going to use Shift F. All right. If you did a mistake, you can click on Restore. Anyway, we can close it. You don't have to save the preferences. And when I do Shift F, see, I cannot just look around like this. Great. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can use the arrow, so Shift F, and I can use the arrow and move just like a spaceship, like that. And if I add Shift, I move faster. We can create a video game like this. All right, great. So it's going well. Let's talk about perspective and orthographic. Currently, as you can see, we are using a perspective view because if I get far, as you can see, the cube is smaller, so it's a perspective view. We can toggle that, and you can use the numpad 5. So this is a numpad, all right? It's not the numbers on top of your keyboard. And if I press 5, see, I can go far. Oh no, it's not exactly the same because we are zooming in and zooming out. Anyway, there is no perspective, as you can see here, all right? The size are exactly the same. Regardless of the distance. So it's 5 here. You don't have a numpad, do not worry, you can just click on this icon here. All right, and it's doing exactly the same. So I know that zooming in and zooming out is, we get a smaller cube, but we are increasing and decreasing the camera amplitude, just like we did in 3GS. It's the same as the orthographic camera and perspective camera in 3GS. And yeah, that's all. Next is about the axis. So we are still talking about the view. We can place the view in specific axes, and to do that, you can use 1, 3, and 7 of your numpad. So 1 is going to place my camera on the y-axis. 3 is going to place the camera on the x-axis. 7 on the z-axis. And if you press Control and those same number, you go on the opposite. See? I know it's moving a lot, but it's the opposite side, all right? I'm pressing Control, not Control, Control, not Control. All right, great. I'm doing so much movement. Then if you move, as you can see, you get back to what you had before. I'm upside down, be careful. Yeah, that's it. When you do that, you place the camera, but you also get the orthographic one. All right. So this is a good way to have things perfectly aligned. If you want to get back to the perspective, click again on the perspective, but you will get the perspective camera. All right, cool. Or you can use the gizmo. As always, there is interface alternative. So the gizmo, remember, you can just rotate by using the gizmo like that. But if you click, I don't know, on Y, we get the same result as pressing the numpad, which is great. Cool, next. Oh yeah, in Blender, we consider the top axis as Z. See there? Maybe if you put your camera like this, you are saying, no, it's Y, but trust me, by default, when you open Blender, the Z is the one going above, all right? Why? Well, because there is no rule about it. You can do whatever you want. Maybe if you want the X to be the top, actually you can change it, but they choose Z. I think it's pretty logical. Maybe you think it's a bad idea, but it's because you are used to other software or 3GS. There is no rule. You can do whatever you want. So don't worry, when you will be exporting things like models, you will get the right axis and there will be no problem. All right, cool. Let's continue. The camera. To get the camera view, because maybe you saw it, there is a camera right here. we can move the view to the camera by pressing numpad 0. So I press numpad 0. Sorry, my numpad sometimes doesn't work. I don't know why. And as you can see, I'm getting the camera view. The camera will be used when doing renders. All right. If you want to trigger a render, we'll do that together a little later. You need a camera. It's mandatory. You need a camera. So you are modeling, you are placing stuff the way you want. We don't know yet how to do modeling, but I will teach you. Once you're ready, you press 0 and you get the camera and you can see if you like it or not. All right, that's cool. And obviously you can click on this icon and get the same result. All right, we almost every time have an interface alternative. Let's talk about reset. Maybe you lost yourself. Like, I don't know, you did that, you are upside down, you don't know it, your viewport is completely stuck. I cannot go back. I want to go there. I don't know how to do it. Press Shift C. By pressing Shift C, so it's not rotating on the right side, but still it's better because you will be at the right position at least. So if you are completely lost, you lost your scene, you don't know where you are, there are trees, it's the night, there are wolves, press Shift C and you will get back to the scene and the viewpoint will be centered on the scene. And then you can just move back to the right orientation so that the positive Z is going upward. Shift C. Remember this one? You might use it a lot. I got lost so many times in Blender. To focus the camera on an object, so it's great because we can focus the whole camera on the whole view on the scene, which can be really useful. But sometimes you need to focus on a very specific object, a cube or something like that. We are going to have complex scene. You will have complex scene maybe in the future. So if you want to focus just on one object, what you can do is press numpad and it's the comma or the point, because it depends on your keyboard. So for me, it's a point, but you might have a comma here. So it's this little one here. So first you left click on the object. We're going to talk about selecting object. There are a few very interesting things. And then you press this and it will move the view so that your object feel the 3D view. All right. If I click on the camera, so it gets orange. We are going to talk about this. I press this and it focus on the object. Great. It can be really useful because it also moves the point of view, meaning that if I rotate, you can see that the camera stay at the center. There is this little circle there. It's the light. And as you can see now, it's perfectly in the center. Cool. That's a lot. I know I'm like listing a lot of features and a lot of shortcuts, but we have to, and then we are going to practice them. Do not worry, I'm going to give you the shortcuts again. If you want to focus on an object and hide everything else, so we only have 3 objects in the scene, but if I have a lot more and I just want to focus on this one and hide the rest, I can use the slash here. All right, I press the slash and as you can see, it focused on it, but I also lost the rest. Everything got invisible but my cube. And you can select multiple cubes. You are going multiple objects and do that. It will work too. If you want to get back, press it again. So it's working. So it's slash on the numpad. Okay, cool. Now about selecting. We did select something, so we just left click on it. And as you can see, the color changes. So it's an outline. The outline of the object changes like this. Great. You can select multiple objects by pressing Shift. So I select the cube, Shift the camera, Shift still pressed, the light. You can do that, which is great. Why not? The object with brighter outline is the active one. All right, see the outline right here. As you can see, it's almost yellow, so it's kind of orange, almost yellow. If I shift and then click on the camera, you can see that the orange got darker, but the orange here is the brighter one. And if I do then the light, this one is bright and this one is not that bright. So those two first got a dark orange and this one has a light orange. And this is the active one and you can change it. So see, I already selected the others like this and I can just, I didn't change what I select, So all my objects are selected, but there is one which is the active one, and you can only have one active object, and we will see why later. By the way, you get the same things inside the outliner. We won't be using the outliner too much. There is a lot to say, but we don't have much time. We are supposed to do 3GS and WebGL. But yeah, everything is being selected also in the outliner like this. All right, so there is the cube which is an active one, and more about this later. There is one very interesting thing. Look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this, then click on this, and then click on this. And when I do undo, so it's the same shortcut as other software, so it's Command Z for Macs and Control Z for Windows. And when I undo, as you can see, I got this one selected. And when I undo again, I got this one. And I can keep doing undo, undo, undo. And as you can see, it's like doing what I've been doing until now, but also like everything like selecting object. You can undo selection. Maybe it's strange, but actually it's a great feature, because if you spend like 2 minutes just selecting the right object, there is a lot, and then you select the wrong one, or you click elsewhere and you lose everything. No, I have to redo everything. No, you just undo. And this is great. You will be kind of frustrating by this, but this is actually such a cool feature, and I'm not sure that you have it in other 3D softwares. At least I discovered this inside of Blender. It's the default behavior, and it's great, trust me. As you can see, I'm just toggling the active one, and I can undo the active one toggling like that. So this is really cool. You can unselect an object with Shift left mouse. So Shift left mouse is going to select another one, and I can unselect one by Shift clicking on the same, but it has to be the active one. All right, see, I select all of them. If I want to unselect the cube, so I try Shift and clicking on it, it didn't work. But this one now is the active one. And if you do it again, so Shift click on the active one, it will unselect it. All right, to unselect it, it has to be the active one. So now it's the camera, and then Shift click. And now we only have our light selected, and then I can click on the light. So it's the active one. Cool. Unselect everything. Select everything with A. A like all. So I press A and it selects everything. Cool. And I can change the active one if I want. And you can unselect everything with double A. What is the double A? Well, you press A twice. So A. See, I select everything by A. And then AA, it unselected everything. I know the shortcuts can be a mess. Don't forget that you have to put your mouse over a 3D viewport. If you do that elsewhere, you will have a different result. So A to select everything, AA to unselect everything. You can select with a rectangle. To do that, you press B, B like rectangle. And then you can just select things like that. All right, B. Like this, B, maybe box. I think it's box. Let's say it's box. You can just select things with B. I want to unselect everything, AA. Then you can select just like you would be painting by pressing C. C like circle. Yeah, I think it's circle. And you can use the wheel. So I'm rotating the wheel to get a smaller or bigger selection. So I do it again, C. The wheel, and I get a smaller or bigger selection, and then I can select the object like this. Can be really useful if you think about it at the right moment. So A, select everything, AA, unselect everything, B, like box to select this, and C to select by painting. And by the way, if you press Shift, you will unselect things. So right now I'm not pressing Shift. Right now I'm pushing Shift. As you can see, it removes things. All right, cool. Let's create objects. All right, our poor cube is alone. Let's create new object. Let's add friends to our cube. First, you have to place the cursor above the viewport. All right, the shortcut to create object has to be above the viewport. Then you press Shift A. And you get a menu right where your cursor were. So I can put the cursor anywhere above any 3D viewport and press Shift A. And then you can just go through the menus that just open and choose the one you want. So I'm going to create, I don't know, a UV sphere. So it's at the center. I cannot see much of it. It's here. How did I move it? You will learn it. Anyway, I can remove the cube. No, I didn't taught you how to remove a cube. So I don't know, maybe create Susan. Yeah, we can see just the here, right here. I'm going to show you how to move things, don't worry. And choose the object using the menu. All right, cool. When creating object, use the small panel in the bottom left corner to tweak the object. All right, so I'm going to remove things. If you need to remove things, it's X. All right, because I didn't show you how to move things, so I will show you how to delete things right now. You select it, you press X, and you validate by clicking on that. So I'm going to show you that again anyway. If I want, let's say, to create a sphere, again, I'm going to use a UV sphere. Do not touch anything when you create an object. All right, my hands are up. And as you can see, there is a small panel at the bottom left of the viewport that created the object. If you lost it because, I don't know, you click somewhere else, don't worry, delete it with X, create a new one. I will go for the UV sphere, but you can test other things. Open that panel and you will have access to options to change your object, like the segments, the ring. I'm going to zoom in so you can see better. As you can see, I can control that, the radius, etc. And those are a little more complicated. And we can ask to generate UVs. Great. So yeah, that's cool. Unfortunately, maybe you clicked somewhere else. Oh no, where is the panel? What you can do is F9. You might need to add FN. So FN, if you're using this kind of keyboard, you might need to press FN because F9 is to control the playlist. So press FN, F9. And then you get back this menu and you can keep transforming this one. Not many people know about this, but you can reopen this panel menu and keep changing your sphere. All right, cool. And if you don't remember about it, just delete your sphere, create one, and it will be the same, and you will be able to tweak it. All right, cool. Deleting objects. So I just shown you how to delete an object. So you click on it. You can select multiple objects. All right, I will just do it on the sphere, but you can do on anything you want. And you press X, and you have to be above a 3D viewport. So I press X. It's not being deleted right away. You have to confirm that you want to delete it. So the confirmation message appears right on your cursor, and you just have to click on it. All right, X, click. It's better to have confirmation in case you are doing a mistake. It's good to have like a fallback in case it was we didn't want it to delete it. So yeah, we did that. Great. Hiding object. So we saw that you can hide other objects by pressing / on the numpad like this, and it will hide the rest so you can focus on it. Press it again to get back to your initial setup. But you can also hide an object. So I will choose, I don't know, the sphere and press H like hide. Great. So I hide the sphere. How can I get it back? You can press Alt H and it will show everything that has been hidden. So Alt H. On the Mac keyboard, it might be Option. All right, it's the same Alt Option. They just don't agree on naming keys. So it's Option H or Alt H. So I hide with H and I unhide everything with Alt H. That's cool. And to hide non-selected object, you can press Shift H, but it's the same. Like if I had everything, every other object, so it's Shift H. It's like the /, but we are not focusing on the object. All right. I want to get back the other object. It's Alt H. That's cool. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can also use the eye icon here. So this is my sphere. I can just hide it. You don't have to select it. If I want to hide the camera, I just click on the eye. Like this. Okay, cool. Transforming object. Until now, we had the object at the center of the scene, which is a good start. But we want to be able to transform the object, move it, rotate it, and stuff like that. I'm going to go for a cube so that we can see the rotation. I don't need to tweak its values. I can just click anywhere else to close this panel. So this is my cube. I want to move the cube. How can I do that? You have three different types of of transformations, and you know them. We have the position, we have the rotation, and we have the scale. It's just like in 3GS. So how can we do that? You have access to a menu on the left. If you can't see the menu, press T. All right? Me, it's over there. I'm talking about this menu. If you can't see this menu, just press T. You can do it in any 3D viewport area, like this. So you're going to select your object that you want to transform, and you can do move, and you get this gizmo, and you can play with this gizmo. I know that C4D users like this kind of transformation with gizmos. Why not? You can rotate it. So right here I can rotate it. It's looking great. We have the angle visible here. And we can scale it, and we can scale the whole thing, or we can scale just part of it, or on two axes. Well, you can do anything you want. If you want to undo, it's Command Z or Control Z on Windows. All right, cool. I never used those. Me, I get back to the select thingy, and what I like to do is press G for the position, R for the rotation, and S for the scale. G for position. I don't know why. Grab, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's something like that. No, there is probably another meaning behind the G. But yeah, it's G, R, and S. If you press G, you can move it like that. All right? If you right click, it will get back to the initial position. If you left click, it will stay where you moved it. Again, I press G. It starts following my cursor. By the way, you can go like forever. It will always loop. So I will get back my cube. It's over there. All right, it's here. So G, if you left click, it will be place. G, if you right click, it will get back at the beginning of the transformation. You can rotate. R. All right, it's rotating. And S to scale. But what if you want to move it like exactly on the X axis? Well, for each one of those transformations, so G, R, and S, you can then, so I press G, as you can see, it's moving, and then I can press X to move it only on the X axis. All right, I cannot go out of this axis. Why? So it's this one. Remember, it's not the one going up and down. And Z, so this is the one going up and down, which is great. And you can do that for any transformation. So I will put R, X. And now it's rotating on the X axis. So R, X, and I rotate. R, Y. And by the way, you can change on the fly. Like if I do X now, it's going to be X, Y, and Z. And the same for the scale. So scale on X, scale on Y, and scale on Z. Oh, going too far. On D. If you want to move the cube, like let's say only on the floor, so I don't want to move it on the up and down. So up and down is the Z. I will do G and then Shift Z. So it will be all the axes and exclude the Z. So Shift Z. And as you can see, the X and Y axes got brighter, and I can move the cube, but only on the X and Y. I do it again. I don't want to be able to move up and down. I just want to move my cube on the floor. I will press G because it's about moving the cube, and then Shift Z. So you exclude the one you don't want. So Shift Z, and as you can see, it's only moving on the X and Y. All right, that's cool. I know that's a lot. Don't worry. You'll be fine. You just have to start somewhere. Okay, that's cool. Let's talk about modes. Currently, we are in the object mode. This is the object mode when you can play with objects. Kind of logical. We have access to different modes. How do we change the mode? Well, you can press from you place your cursor above the 3D viewport. So you can click on this and you have access to different modes. So edit mode, sculpt mode, vertex paint, weight paint, texture paint. But me, I prefer to use a shortcut, and it's the control tab. So control tab, and we get a circular menu. I love circular menus. So anywhere you can place your cursor anywhere on a 3D viewport. You press control tab, and you get a circular menu like this, and you can choose a different mode. We are in object mode. So if I click on the object mode, it's exactly the same, but we are going to test the edit mode. If you're curious, you can play with the weight of the vertices, vertex paint, all right, texture paint, so we can paint right on the texture on the model, sculpt mode, so we can just sculpt things, but we are going just to use the object mode, and edit mode, that's already a lot. So you can go to the edit mode, all right, you place your mouse somewhere over the edit mode part, and you just click on it. And as you can see, things change just a little. Like we can see the geometry. You can see vertices, edges, and maybe the faces. We're going to see that in details. So yet again, if you want to change the mode, you press Control Tab, Edit Mode. You want to get back to the object mode, Control Tab, Object Mode. And you can toggle between them. And by the way, you can also press Tab. To toggle between object and edit, you can just press Tab. It's much faster. If you want to go to sculpt mode, you will have to do Control Tab and choose sculpt mode. All right, we are not going to do sculpting. Anyway, edit mode, object mode, great. Let's go to the edit mode. It's similar to the object mode because we can do a transformation, but we are going to do transformations on the vertices, the edges, and the faces. And we can do just the vertices, or just the edges, or just the faces. To fix between editing vertices or edges or faces, you can use this menu right here. So right now, as you can see, if I left click, I'm selecting the vertices, and then I can move them, and move them just on axis by adding the axis. Or I can use edges. So as you can see, it's this small icon here. And then I can click on an edge and move the edge like that. And then force maybe something like that. And I can start to create clean geometries. Or I can go into faces. So it's the third one. And then I can select a face and play with the face. All right, cool. Or you can use the 1, 2, and 3 above your keyboard. So I'm talking about these guys here. And if you press, let's say, go to the edit mode, don't leave the edit mode. 1, I'm in 2 vertices. I was already in vertices right now. 2, so I'm not using the mouse. I'm not clicking on the menu. So 1, 2, 3. You can see here, 1, 2, 3. So I can easily, with this shortcut, take the edge. I'm going to do that, then the face like that, then the vertices like that. So yeah, I always hide this menu. And then the edge again like that, and then I rotate it, and I can do, I don't know, like a cube that start to dance, something like that. Looking great. Let's undo this. It's so ugly. Yeah, great. Once you're done, you can leave the edit mode by pressing Tab. All right. And now we are in object mode. If you did mistakes, press the wrong button, you don't know what you've done, close Blender, open Blender, and you will be fine. Don't worry. It happens to me so many times. Now let's talk about shading. We are still not creating our model, but I want to show you everything you need, and then we are going to practice those when creating our own model. Shading is how you see objects, because we can see objects. They look gray, not very realistic. We also have like some kind of grid. Well, it's because we are in a very specific shading. The default one, the one you are looking at right now, so create objects, is the solid one. And we can toggle between different shading. The solid one, as you can see, is very performant. Like I can add a lot of objects. I can do, I don't know, many Suzanne, all right? I can duplicate it. I know you don't know yet how to duplicate, but anyway, let's add some Suzannes. Still working fine. Yeah, it seems to be working fine. All right, so this mode, this shading mode, is very performant. and we can see like clearly, but it's not very realistic. You can change the shading with the button on the top right corner of the 3D viewport. So it's those ones here, all right? Or you can press Z and you get a circular menu. You know, I like circular menus. As you can see, we are in solid mode. We can go into the material preview. So let's click, be curious. We get something a little different. We can go to the wireframe, probably know what it is. And you can go to the render. All right, it's looking better. All right, let's talk about the different modes. So this is the solid one. As we said, it's the default one. So press Z, go to solid mode. It's the default mode. It's the same material for every object. You can tweak that, but anyway, by default, all the material, all the object has the same material. As you can see, if I create, I don't know, maybe another, let's say cylinder, all right? It's the same gray everywhere. So it's the same material for every object. And it's the default one. We can go to the material preview and we'll get a preview of the material. Currently, we don't have any material on those, which is why we can't see much of a difference. But when we will add the colors, textures, stuff like that, we will have a good preview of those. And this is a performant shading. Like, it doesn't look great, it's not realistic, but still we can see the colors and the textures. We have the wireframe, so press Z and then go to wireframe, and as you can see, we see the wireframe just like in 3GS. So we can't see triangles, but because these are quads, all right? There is a difference between triangles and quads. If we were to export this into 3GS, those quads would be transformed into triangles, all right? This is a quad because there is 4 vertices to compose him. In 3GS, this will be converted to triangles. Okay, cool. And then we can go to the render. So it's the one on the top, at least for me. And as you can see, it's much better. Like, we have shadows, we have a great illumination by the light. If I get the light closer, you can see that it's working. All right, so this is the realistic one, and it's less performant. And we're going to talk on exactly what is being rendered here. Oh, by the way, if you can't see much here, like it looks like this, it's probably because you don't have a light in your scene. Maybe you deleted the light right before. So you can add a new light. So it's Shift A and then light, and then you can add a point light. All right. And you can add many point lights, and we're going to learn how to tweak them. But if not strong enough, you can go inside this icon. We're going to explain this whole panel. You can go to this icon and crank up the power. All right. Like a lot, and we get a good looking light. We're going to explain this part. Oh, and we're going to explain this part right now. That's perfect. So, what is exactly this menu? It's kind of scary. I know there is a lot of things inside. As you can see, those are tabs, and I have many things inside of this. And maybe you don't have the exact same icons. So this properties menu will give you properties about the render. So when we are going to do render, but also when we are using the renderer mode, we will be able to tweak those properties. We have properties about the environment. It's over there. Sorry, there. So the world, what is the color of the sky, stuff like that. And we also have properties about the object. And this is this part. So click on an object, and you get the properties of this object. We have like a smaller margin here, and you can see that those are about this object. And when you click, let's say, on the camera, as you can see, the properties are different. The tabs, the icons are different. If I click on the light, they are different again, because it depends. You don't have the same properties for the light and for a camera, or for a cube, or a sphere, or a cube. So there is a lot. We are not going to see all of them, but still we are going to talk about the different tabs, the different icons for a mesh. So yeah, the first one is the object properties. And if you want to know which one is the object properties, it's this icon. So the little orange square, and you can just hover it, and we have a little tooltip showing up, which told you that it's object properties. All right. And we are going to see object properties, modifier properties, and stuff like that. Not all of them. So yeah, let's click on the object properties. And this is just to transform the object and be like very precise. As you can see, I can move it. Those are fields. You can click on them, change the value, or you can drag and drop them, and you can add shift to be more precise, or I think it's control. Yeah, if you add control, the real control, even if you are on Windows and Mac, it's going to be like a magnetic, right? It's going to be a unit 1. So I drag and drop, press control. As you can see, I can be really precise like this. So yeah, you can just change instead of using S, R, stuff like that, maybe you want a very precise value where you will be able to do it here. I'm not going to talk about all the rest. It will be boring as hell. Then we can see the modifiers. We're going just to see the one that we might use to create the model we are going to create just a little later. We have access to what we call the modifiers. And the modifier is great because we can add non-destructive modifications like subdividing, bending, growing, shrinking. And as you can see, there is a huge list. So those will apply modifications, and you will be able to toggle those modifications to remove them, and you will keep the initial geometry, which can be really useful. It's non-destructive. So there is a lot here. We are going to use maybe 2 of them, which is already great. So we are not going to see them right now. Then we have the materials property. It's this one, all right, to add new materials. Maybe you have something here, maybe not. It depends if you kept the initial cube. Anyway, we are going to learn how to create materials together. Well, actually, we can do it now. So the default one is named material, and you can access it by clicking on this little icon here and select it. All right. So if you didn't have it active like that, just click on this thing to get the list of all the materials. And by default, when you create a new Blender scene, you get this default material. All right. And you can have access to all the properties. You can remove the material by pressing minus, and you can add one by pressing plus, which will create kind of an empty one. It can be a mess. This is the part where softwares like C4D are much easier. Like using materials in Blender, it's kind of strange. You get lost, you don't know where is your material, you don't know if you can list all the materials. It's better in other 3D softwares like Cinema 4D. I don't know if it's better, but it's much easier. I know about that. So yeah, if you want to create a new one, because I don't want to use the default one, or maybe you have nothing here, I don't know, you just click new. Oh, by the way, I selected an object. So if you don't select an object, you probably don't have the material icon. Then you press new, so the default name is material, and because we already have one material, Blender called it a material 001. And then you can tweak its values. Are we going to do that here? Yeah, we can do that here. We are going to delete it anyway, but still we can do that here. The default material is a principled, sorry, I have trouble saying this, BSDF. And this material, so you can see it's the type of surface. You can do many other types of surface, like a tuned thing or stuff like that. We are not going to test all of them, but this one is very interesting because it uses PBR principles. And you've heard of PBR principles multiple times if you did the previous lessons. It's a physically based rendering principles, just like the mesh standard material of 3GS, which is a good thing because it's becoming the standard. And if we export, let's say, this cube using principle BSDF, supposedly we are going to have the same result in 3GS because the 3GS version will use mesh standard material that also use PBR principles. Maybe. Don't worry. Let's talk about render engines. You can go to the render, so we are not going to see all the rest of the tabs here. We're going to go straight to this one. So it's the little camera. And as you can see, there is a render engine select, and you can choose different render engine. The default one is called Eevee. Eevee is a real-time render engine. go to the render mode, shading, if you're not right now. So press Z and select the one on the top, which name is rendered. Or you can press this little icon here. So what you are seeing now is a real-time render engine, which name is Eevee. Real-time, just like in 3GS or in Unity or stuff like that. So it uses the GPU like 3GS. It's very performant, like it's just running perfectly, but it has limitations like realism, light bounce, reflection, refraction. You can have reflection and refraction, but you can have like a reflection of a mirror from a mirror, from a mirror, from a mirror, in mirror, inside mirror, you can have those. You can have just like one or two reflections, something like that. But still, it's very performant. And because we are doing models for 3GS, we are doing models for real-time rendering. So let's use Eevee, all right? But still, I'm going to talk about the other ones. There is Workbench. Workbench, we call this a legacy render engine. It's like the old render engine we used before we had the one I'm going to show you after. It's still available, maybe for you. I don't know if you have the same version. It's not used a lot. It's very performant. It's pretty performant, but it's not very realistic. All right. So I never used this one, but I know some people did for very specific projects, but still I'm not using this one. And the last one is Cycles. And if you click on Cycles, you can see that something strange happened. All right. Move the camera and you see it's all glitchy. The performances are not that good and it's looking great. Like, look at this shadow. Look how beautiful this shadow is. Yes, I'm amazed by a shadow. It's hard to have this kind of shadows in 3GS, and it's hard to have this kind of shadows in Eevee. Look at the Eevee shadow. It's not bad. I don't know with the video compression, so it's not bad, but it's still not as good as Cycle. Cycle is what we call a ray tracing engine. For each pixel to render, Blender will send a ray and then make the ray bounce again, and we get a result. And then same thing for the other pixels, and we get such a beautiful and realistic result. So yeah, this is Cycle. It can handle light bounce, like if you put, I don't know, I'm going to create, look at this, I'm going to create a red cube. So this one is going to be red, like this, and this one is going to be, you can already see what I mean by that. It's going to be white, like real white. And as you can see here, it's red because the light bounced on the cube and got into the sphere, and you get this kind of result. And actually this part is lighter also because of the light bouncing on the sphere. Well, you have light bouncing and you can see it there too. It's a really important part of realistic render. You can have techniques that mimic the light bounce on Eevee. It's not as realistic, but it will be very performant. Anyway, let's move forward. Eevee is perfect because we are modeling for real-time rendering. I already told you about this. And by the way, if you want to do render, you can press F12, so this one. And if you're using a keyboard like mine, you also have to put FN, so function key. So F12, and we get a render. And this is the part where you probably have to wait, because right now I set the render engine to Cycles, and it's going to do a really precise render. It's not the one we had in the viewport. It's a real render, so we can put it online and say, hey, I did this beautiful red cube, and show it to the world. So you're doing this render and you will have to wait. And actually this waiting part can be like tremendously long. Like you can have renders that takes hours. And we're just talking about one render, because you can also do videos inside of Blender. And if you do animation and you want to render the video, well, you will have to do a render for each frame. So it can take ages. Sometimes I just started the render before going to bed. I came back the next day and it wasn't over, because it was, I don't know, maybe a 12 seconds video. That's a lot of render to do, and you just have to wait. So yeah, as you can see, it's looking great. If you want to save it, so you did press F12, to get this render, you wait for it to end, and if you want to save it, go to Image, Save As, and you will be able to save by using this menu. All right, I won't go into details. You can probably figure out how to do it, and you can choose between PNG, JPEG, the quality, stuff like that. Escape. I can close this part. All right, it's just a render window. It opens automatically. I can close it. And by the way, if you want to tweak those render, you have parameters here. Some parameters are here, like these parameters are pretty important. I'll let you discover this, and you can also change like the resolution and stuff like that right here. We are not going to cover this because what we want is create a model to export it to 3GS. We are not doing 3D design. All right, let's move forward. Yeah, the search. This one might be very useful for beginners, and not even just beginners. I used a lot the search. We talked about the search at the beginning when we first launched Blender. We had to choose what the spacebar is going to do, and we could choose search. I like to have the spacebar doing search, but I don't do it anymore. So I have the default setting of Blender. This way I have the same settings as my students. But still, I think that because I don't do much animation, having the space to open the search bar can be interesting. So it's up to you. If you didn't choose space to open the search, so you let the default settings of Blender, what you need to do is press F3. So it's the top one over there. And maybe you have to add the function key. So me, it's the case. I have to do function F3, and I get this search bar, this search panel. And this one is great because you can activate every features of Blender by using this one. All right. Maybe we'll use it. Don't remember. Maybe later we will be using. But anyway, if you're looking, I don't know, for a duplicate object, well, you can duplicate object, and see, I duplicated the object. All right. I just press function F3. I wrote duplicate, and I choose, I don't know what is a duplicate linked. It would work. You can use it, but I chose duplicate object, and it duplicated my object. All right, cool. Let's get back to Eevee, by the way. So click on the camera icon on the properties area and select Eevee, because we are going to use Eevee because we are doing real-time rendering. Okay, so this was the search panel. Use it if you don't know the shortcut or the menu button. Just open the search and try to find it by using the search. All right, so now that you know how to set your areas, create a basic object, stuff like that, let's create the perfect interface, the perfect setup. So I'm going to remove everything. Remember to select everything, it's A. If you want to unselect everything, it's AA. So I want to select everything, I press A. I press then X to delete, and I confirm by clicking. All right, I deleted everything. I have no camera, I have no light. That's not much of a problem. I'm going to create only the one I need. I don't need the camera because I'm not going to do renders, but if you want to do renders, you can keep the camera. Then what I'm going to do is create a cube, just one cube like this. I'm going to create the light again. I know we already have a cube and a light, but it's just in case you had very different scene because you were playing with it. Then I can move my light. If I don't see the light, well, it's because it's inside the cube. How can I see the light? Well, I press Z and I change to wireframe. This way I can see through everything. And this is my light. All right, Z, wireframe, this is my light. I move it out of the cube, Z, rendered, and now I can place it the way I want. So I want it there, somewhere over there. It's great. Yeah, I like it like this. I can cramp its light up. So I select its power up. So I select my light, and then I go to the light icon here in the properties, and I can crank the value up. I don't know, maybe you can just write it like 400. You know what, maybe more, 800. Yeah, that's looking great. All right, cool. And then here you can do whatever you want, but maybe you can just follow me on that. I want this view to be the top. So I click on Z, or I use my keyboard and press 7. Then on this part, I want it to be on the, let's say, X. All right, so it's on the X. And then I want this one to be wireframe. So I press Z. Be careful, I'm not pressing Z here. I'm pressing Z here, where the cursor is over this part. I go wireframe, and here I go wireframe 2. Maybe I'm going too fast. Pause the video, try to find it. If you try, you will learn. So it's important to try. Anyway, this is great. I think I like my setup. Yeah, why not? Why did we do that? Well, because we can save this setup. This way, when we open our Blender, sorry, if we open Blender again, we will get this exact setup. I just want to show you this. To do that, you go to File. It's going to be Defaults, and you can click on Save Startup File. All right, just click on Save Startup File. You have to confirm. Be careful. My students always just do, yeah, it's working, and then they open Blender and they lost everything. So you have to do File, Defaults, Save Startup File. You have to confirm it by clicking there. And if I close Blender, so he wants me to save the file. Don't save the file. We don't need to save this file. We don't care, because by opening Blender again, wait for it, we get our setup just like before. Looking great. Oh yeah, by default it's solid. I thought he would save that I want it in rendered. Anyway, you can just move to rendered. Maybe it's so that if there is a lot on the scene, you don't crash your computer and you cannot open Blender anymore. Maybe. Anyway, so we saved the setup. If you want to change it, like, oh no, this is not the right axis, or oh no, it was in solid, I want it in wireframe, you change it here. You do File, Default, Save Startup File, and you confirm. All right, this is great. We are almost done. And yeah, it's hamburger time. We are going to create our model finally. And I choose to create a hamburger. I've been doing pickles, castles, stuff like that. But right now I want you to test the hamburger, and we are going to create it in Blender, export it, and then use it inside our 3ds scene. So yeah, let's go. First, we need to decide on the unit scale. Don't just create a burger like, yeah, I'm going to start with a cylinder, and it will be like that, and at the end you end up with a huge burger, the size of a building, stuff like that. You first have to decide on a unit scale. All right. As you can see in my grid, I have 1, 2, 3 grid lines. Sorry. If I move, let's say on the X, you can see here that over here I will have the unit. As you can see, I'm moving on the X, and when I move 1 grid cell, I get 1, then 2, then 3. And as you can see, there is even a M, which stands for meters. All right, and if I go to this panel here, so this is the one to transform things, you can see that this is meters. So if I want to create a burger of this size, it will be something like 2 meters large. This is a huge burger. We are not going to create a burger that big. So maybe we should do like in centimeters. So it would be like something like maybe this. But right now it's too small for Blender, for our Blender setup, and it might create bugs. What we can do is just think of 1 meter as 1 centimeter. All right. So if we want to create a burger, it can be like, let's see, what's the size of a burger? Something like 10, yeah, 10 centimeters. Yeah, sorry, I'm using centimeters. If you don't, you can use your own. Anyway, let's say 10 centimeters. All right. So it will be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. A burger of this size. Why not? We can use it. Our light would be too far. So as you can see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 10 centimeter burger. And I don't care about the fact that it's meters here, and just think of 1 unit as 1 centimeter. But if you're a maniac like me and you don't like to see this meter, well, you can change this. To do that, you go to the scene properties, and it's this one, if I'm right. Yeah, it's this icon here. You go to units, and you can change this to none. All right. This way, when you use measures, you don't have the M showing up. All right. It's the same. It's units, but it's not meters. It's not centimeters. It's not feet, it's not kilograms, stuff like that. It's just unit. Just like 3DS, we just think of one unit as whatever we want. So this way, we can think of one cell as anything we want, and we are going to think of it as 1 centimeter. So this here, this cell is 1 centimeter large, and that's all. All right, this is just a parenthesis about this. And we are going to create the bottom bun. So what you can do is go to the solid mode in order to be able to tweak more easily the thing we have here. And we are going to start, so we want to create the bottom bun. Maybe you can get some reference images. We are not going to do that. Actually, you can put them inside of Blender. It can be useful, but we are not going to do that. And we are going to start with a cube. That's strange because you know that a bottom bun is more like a cylinder. So maybe you think of creating a cylinder, and then you can change the scale, something like that, and remove the scale on the Z and start with that. We could have done that, but I want to show you good practice, like professional tips to create what you want. We're going to start from a cube. So create a cube. You will see why soon. Then we can make the cube bigger. You could scale the cube, but what I recommend is to only change in edit mode. All right, I won't go into detail about that, but it can mess with UV unwrapping and physics and stuff like that. So when you want to scale something, what I recommend, so it's pro tips, is to always scale on edit mode. Why? Because this will keep the scale of the object to 1, all right? My cube is bigger, but the scale, the transformation scale is 1. Always try to keep this one to 1 unless you don't have a choice. So sometimes you will not have a choice, but always keep this one to 1 unless you know exactly what you're doing. So go to the edit mode, so press tab, and then use S for scale, and just move your mouse until you're happy. So right here, this one is the one above. So I want my burger to be something like 10 centimeters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need it a little bigger. Yeah, something like that. All right. Because it's 5 on the left, 5 on the right. Well, it's 10 units and it's a 10 centimeters burger. I like this one. All right, great. So why did we start with the cube? Well, we are going to use a modifier. Select your cube. Go to the modifier, so it's this wrench. I think we say wrench, and add a new modifier, and it's going to be the subdivision surface modifier, and this is the most used modifier. Click on it, and we get a ball. That's strange. The subdivision modifier will round everything. So if you have a cube, what do we get if we perfectly round a cube? We get a sphere, right? This is a cube, we get a sphere. What you can do now is play with the cube. Oh yeah, by the way, it's like a really rough cube, like we can see the edges. If you want to smooth the surface, you can do right click and click on shade smooth. If you don't know how to get it, remember the search, so it's function F3. Maybe for you it's just F3. And then you can search for smooth. Remember just the word smooth, and then I can choose this one, and then it's smooth. I know it looks bad, but we are going to fix that, don't worry. Yeah, maybe I forgot to talk about this one. Yeah, you can change the details of the smooth. So I will get back to the flat. I can do right click flat. Don't do it, I just want to show it to you. But right now we get something like this. And what you can do is increase the levels viewport. That you have to do it, and add more details by doing that. All right, and we can go for full. All right, looking great. If I go to the smooth, so right click shade smooth, it's perfectly round. All right, so we started from a cube and now it's a perfect sphere. Why did we do that? Well, because if I press tab, I go to the edit mode, and as you can see, we still have our cube, and it's so much easier to play with a cube. I see if I want to push it there, I can do something like that. If I want to do, I don't know, that, I can do that, I can do that, and I can modify my cube and play with the sphere like a globe, something like that. and it's much easier. You will see what we are going to do now. Because we added a modifier, and this modifier can be toggled. We can remove the modifier. Like see, it's a cube. I put them back. It's now a sphere, and I'm going to change this cube. All right. We are going to go to the edit mode. So we keep it at the middle of the scene. We go to the edit mode, and then you have to transform it so you get like a pebble. All right. So I'm going to you can use any tools you want. Right now, it's the perfect opportunity just for you to use it and feel the software, feel the shortcuts, try stuff. It will take time for you, but still it's a perfect opportunity. What I want is a pebble, which is exactly at the center here. So what I can do is select the bottom face. To select the bottom face, I can click here to go to the faces mode. I'm in edit mode, so you can press Control Tab and go to edit mode. Select your cube, which is now a sphere. Then press Control Tab and select edit mode. Or you can press just Tab. All right, select your cube, which is now a sphere. Press Tab. I want to select the face at the bottom. I press 3, so it's above the letters, or I press this. As you can see, I can now select faces. I want the bottom face to be higher, so I press G. And I want it to move only on the Z axis, so I press Z. And then I can just move it, and because I have the screen at the bottom left, I cannot select it, but I have this part here, I can move it and look at it, so it's at the exact center of the scene. All right. It's starting to look like a bottom bun. We are correcting the bottom bun, by the way. Maybe I forgot to tell you, but it's not right yet. I will take the top part. Actually, you can use like the vertices. Maybe you can select each vertices. It's the same. And G and move it down a little. This is supposed to be my bottom part. So now we get a pebble. It's not the right shape, and we are going to fix that. What we need to do now is to add, because we are using the modifier, the subdivision modifier, we need to add more polygons, and you will see what happens. What I want to do is to divide my shape like that, like add edges all around it to get more polygons. To do that, we can use the edge cut. Where is it? The loop cut, sorry, the loop cut. To activate the loop cut, if you don't know the shortcut, well, you can press F3 and search for loop cut. And this is the one we want. Or I can give you the shortcut. It's Control R. All right, do not click. Right now, you have to choose how you want to cut your square. Me, I want to cut it this way. So you select one of the vertical edges. You just put your mouse, your cursor on a vertical edge. You get this shape, all right? Then you click once. Be careful, you click once, and then you can move it up or down. See where this is going? Starting to look like a real bottom bun. Then you can move, I don't know, the top one can be like this, like very close, so that we get a crease on the top part of the bottom bun. Follow me on this. And I don't know, maybe we can put it there. All right, it's looking great. The bottom one should be a little more flat. So let's add a new loop cut. So it's Control R. I click once I'm happy that I want it to be horizontal like that. So I click there, and then I can move it. I don't know, maybe like this. All right, and this looks much more like a bottom bun. It's way too thick, so we can change it just a little, but don't change them too much until you get all the ingredients. All right, I will just move it down, something like this. All right, I will see in more details later. Maybe the edge is too sharp. I will change that later. Wait for the other ingredients to decide on that. Yeah, it's a good time to save. All right, we did few things. We are kind of happy with our bottom bun. We need to save. So to save, you can press Command S or Control S on Windows. So it's Command S, or you can go to File, Save As. It's like most softwares. You can press Command S or go to File, Save As. And then you can save it anywhere. Don't know where I'm going to put my burger. Put it in the same folder maybe than the project, because we're going to add it to 3GS right after. So we go to custom model with Blender, exercise, and yeah, I can put it there. It's going to be hamburger, like this. All right. When you save a file, just check in the folder, and I close it obviously. So up, record, no, not records, this one, custom model with Blender, exercise, and I get this. Let's do, so this is my hamburger.blend. I will do, just look at my screen, don't do it. I will do just one modification and then I save again. And I get suddenly this file. So I did a modification and then I saved again. And I get this blend1 file. What is that? Do not worry, it's not a bug. It's actually Blender making backup file, just in case something goes wrong, all right? Blender has a background of bugs, because at the beginning there was a lot of bugs, and what Blender did is that when you save a file, you get a backup file, so it's the previous save that got renamed 1, and you can actually add more. For now it will be only 1. If I do another modification like this, I save, I don't get Blender 2, all right? So this is the latest, and this is the previous save. And if something goes wrong, like, I don't know, you go back to, you go to sleep, you go back the next day, and you try to continue your hamburger, and suddenly there is an error, you lost your burger, you don't know why, your file seems to be corrupted, well, you can just get your previous save by using this file. You just have to rename it blend, put it in another folder if you need, and open it back up, and you will get back your previous burger. All right, maybe you lost a few minutes of work, maybe a few hours if you don't save enough, but still you can get it back. I never had to use one because I never had a corrupt file. I don't think it's happening again. Maybe if you use a lot of plugins, because there are Blender plugins, but I never had to use a backup file. All right, just in case. Keep them. You never know if maybe one day you will need one. So yeah, let's get back to it. And until, for now, we are going to save quite often. I will try to remind you to save every time we do some modifications. We did the bottom bun. Congratulations. It's looking great. I hope for you too. We are going to create the meat. To create the meat, we are going to do exactly the same thing. But instead of trying to do the exact thing, recreating a cube, stuff like that, we are going to duplicate it. And to duplicate, well, if you don't know the shortcut, you can do F3 and search for duplicate. Do not use the linked. The link is like an instance, meaning that if you change one of the objects, it will also change the duplicated ones. So choose duplicate object. And as you can see, when you duplicate, you can move it right away. Oh no, me, I want it to stay at the same place. What you can do is right click. All right, just right click. And the duplication occurred, but they are at the same place. And what you can do now, because there is already one selected, is G, Z, and move it up like this. All right, so this is our bottom bun, and this is our meat. And then our meat, we can tweak it just like we did before. So we are going to select the meat, press Tab to go to the edit mode, and then change your meat just like you want it. And for the meat, I don't know, so I will go something like, oh really? You don't want me to select it like that, and now I can just, I don't know, maybe do something like that. Actually, there is maybe too much of them. Let's test. Then I select this one. There is so much shortcuts I want to show you now, but let's not use them. All right, maybe I put this part in the middle, then I select the top part and I do something like, yeah, I can scale the top part, do something like that, scale the bottom part, do something like that too, maybe not too much. All right, I can move it up. This one too, can move it down. Yeah, I like the way it looks. Yeah, just try, all right? I won't give you all the tips I'm using right now, because I'm just like testing until it looks pretty good. Yeah, this part. I want it to be kind of sharp. Yeah, not too much, not as much as the bottom bun, but kind of sharp. And then I want the bottom part maybe higher. Yeah, like this. All right. As you can see, I press G and then Z to move it only on the Z axis. So it's perfectly symmetrical. And then S to scale it. All right. I'm happy with this one. If I went too fast, just pause the video and get back to the video once you're happy with your meat. I can reduce the whole thing also, something like that. Yeah, it's way too perfect. Anyway, that's not a problem. All right, let's move so we have a bigger steak. All right, this one is pretty good. Okay, cool. So this was our meat. Let's talk about the cheese. To create the cheese, we are not going to do the same thing. We are going to start with the plane. So create a plane. So Shift A, Mesh, Plane. And this is our plane. We cannot see much of it. Fortunately, we have the wireframes viewports, so we can just use them. Do not scale it like this. Go to Edit Mode, and then select everything with A if it's not already selected, and then scale in Edit Mode. Remember, I told you to always scale in Edit Mode, not the object, the vertices. It's better, trust me on that. I cannot show you why, because we have to do like UV unwrapping, stuff like that. But trust me, it's always better. You can avoid a lot of trouble. So I scaled it. Then I can leave the edit mode and move it up like over there. I can do this view to make sure that it's at the right place. Actually, it's kind of wrong because we cannot really see the edge. I think it's a small bug. Yeah, I don't know why. See, it's going through here, but here we cannot see much. Maybe it's a little bug with Blender. Anyway, just position it on the top. So this is our cheese. It's looking bad, like a frozen cheese, something like that. What we are going to do is to add more subdivision, because right now it's just, you can go to edit mode, press 1 or click on the vertices button, and we have only 4 vertices, which is why it looks that flat. What we are going to do is add subdivision. Select everything. So go to face mode, select the face. So now we have our plane selected, and you can do right click and select subdivide, which is hidden. Oh yeah, it was at the top. So subdivide, or you can do F3 subdivide. All right, you can always search for it. Then we subdivide. Do not touch anything. All right, it did a subdivision, but only one subdivision. Look at this bottom left panel. We can control the subdivision, and we can crank it up, and you're going to do something like 10. You can do more. You know what? Maybe you can do more. Oh no, I can't do more. You can, don't worry. What you can do is, there is some kind of limit to prevent you from doing a mistake. It's Blender limit. Anyway, you can just click on it and change the value and put something like, I don't know, 12, even more, 15. All right, this one is looking great. We differ from the exercise, but it's not much of a problem. So yeah, why did we do that? Well, because we are going to make the cheese melt on the sizes. All right, I want the cheese to just fall on the sizes. Maybe it's too big actually. No, it's okay. So yeah, how can we do that? Maybe we can just do something like select one vertex and do that, and then that, and then that. Oh no, it's not enough. So maybe I can select multiple. It's going to take ages. No, let's not do that. What you're going to do is focus on one corner first, and you select only the edge, like the corner at the here. And what you're going to do is use proportional editing. This is this circle icon right here. You can press O, and as you can see, it became blue. And if you press O again, it toggles the proportional editing. What is the proportional editing? Well, maybe you can just try to move. So activate the proportional editing. You can click or press O, the letter O, and then try to move it. And as you can see, it's not just moving your vertex, the one you selected, it's also moving the neighbors. And see this circle? So start moving it. It's just moving just maybe 2 or 3 other vertices. Now use the wheel And as you can see, we can control it like that. All right, so maybe we can use it to make our cheese fall on the side of the burger. So G, I use a pretty big one, and then I move only on the Z, and I do that. Oh no, it's not working, because see the shape of the proportional editing, it's kind of strange. And you can control this with that select button right here. This is called the fall off. It's how the rest is following the one you are transforming. And this is, you have a preview of the formula being used here. What we want is something like sharp. Use the sharp, you will see that the one you selected is going to move just like it should move, and the other one will move, but the more further they go, the faster the fall off is. By that I mean just move it, see? All right? Maybe you have to reduce it like that, and now it's better. See? Just go until it's too far. Maybe you can do like a big part like that. Okay? And then again, just the edge like that. All right, and now it's looking like a real cheese that is falling on the sides. Let's do it for every side. All right, what you can do is actually select all of them and move them all together, because you can select multiple elements at once. So I'm going to do that. All right, looking good. And then again with a smaller like that. And again, what you can do is, I don't know, maybe take all the edges like this. You can use this part because it's perfectly aligned. See, I select everything on the edges and I move everything down a little, or not too much, be careful. Maybe like this, yeah. It's pretty good. All right, it's looking great. As you can see, we can see the faces. Yet again, you have to go to the smooth shade. So right click, shade smooth. Or you can search for smooth and press enter. Now it's perfectly smooth. All right, this cheese is looking great. What you can do now is give some thickness to the cheese, because right now it's the thinnest cheese ever. We want like a thick cheese in order to enjoy our burger. To give it some thickness, we are going to add a modifier, which is solidify. All right, it's this one. So you select your cheese, you go to the modifiers, so it's the branch, and you add a new one, and its name is solidify. And as you can see, you get some thickness if you zoom a lot. Go to the wireframe mode if you want to see this thickness, and it's really small, and you can crank it up. It's the thickness parameter, and you can do 0.0, I don't know, 8. All right, this one is much better, see? And now we have a real cheese, looking great. But actually not looking that great. All right, so you can control it like that. It solidified the faces, it gives some thickness, but it's not looking that great. Like, it seems wrong. What's happening here with the shadow, stuff like that, it seems wrong. It's because everything is being smooth. Even if you have like an edge like this, it will look smooth, which is wrong. What you can do is, so you have selected your cheese, you will go to this part, which is the object data property. You will open the normal sections and say to Blender, right now you are going to auto smooth. Click on it. And what just happened is that when the angle between the faces is less than 30 degrees, it will be smooth. And if it's more, like let's say between this face and this face, it won't be smooth. And we get something looking much better. See the cheese? It's looking great. All right, that's cool. You can go further. It's almost the end. Yeah, we did that. We added thickness. We fixed the normals. It's time to create the the top bun. So to create the top bun, you can start from the bottom bun, duplicate it, move it up, rotate it so it's R, and then you choose an axis and you press X. And to do a perfect angle, see, I want it to be perfectly aligned and symmetrical. On the top left, you can see that I have the rotation degrees. So right click if you want to stop doing your rotation. So R, X, and if I press Control, See, it's kind of magnetic. So this way we can be very precise, and on the top left, you can see that it's 180 degrees. So I can just click right here. All right, that's my bun. I can move it up, and then I can make it more rounder. We like when the top is round. So to make it rounder, well, it's not that hard. You can select you can go to edit mode, go to faces, select the top face. I'm not sure of what I'm doing. Yeah, just like that. All right, I just move it, scale it, and do that until you're happy. Maybe I can take this. I really want to use my shortcuts, but let's not use them. Yeah, a little bigger like that. Oh yeah, this one is looking great. Oh, I had the fall off, the proportional editing activated. Don't forget to deactivate this one, or you're going to mess with the neighbors vertices or edges or faces. Anyway, that wasn't a problem right now, but don't forget to stop it by pressing O or clicking on this little icon. All right, it's looking great. Maybe it's a little too big now. So what I can do is, yeah, because I was using the fall off, it got too big. So I can do something like that. All right, it's looking good. You can go to the render. So it's beautiful. We can't see much because the light is way too weak. You can crank it up like, I don't know, 3000. Yeah, and you can duplicate it like that. That's a beautiful burger. I'm quite happy with the result. I'm glad I could have something looking great. Right now, if you don't like your burger, I'd like to see it. So please show me your burger right now, and then keep improving it, and get back to the video once you're happy with your burger, because we are going to change the materials and then export the burger to 3GS. We are almost done here. By the way, you can add, I don't know, salad, tomatoes, pickles. No, don't add pickles. Nobody add pickles. Maybe sauce, maybe some, you know, the sesame on the top. Anyway, you can improve it. Have fun. It's the most important part. Just have fun with creating stuff. You can create the table, the plate, stuff like that. And we are going to stop the modeling part here. There is much more to learn, and I will give you some tutorials if you want to go further. Anyway, it's time to add some materials. So yeah, do the final tweaks. The materials, it's going to be quite fast because I don't want to add textures or do painting, stuff like that. It's almost 2 hours tutorial. So let's just add some colors. So go to the rendered shading, so it's Z rendered, and make sure you have enough light. So me, I have 2 lights on the left and on the right, and crank the power of those lights by going to the properties, power, and use the right value. You can put anything you want like that, so that your burger is looking good. Then we need to add some materials. We will add 3 materials, one for the cheese, one for the 2 buns, and one for the meat. And finding the right values is up to you. Anyway, we can start with the top one. Go to the materials. We already have some materials here, so maybe you can just reuse those materials. So you can click, I don't know, on this material here. You can rename the material, and I always try to rename them, so it's going to be bun material. All right, it's this part right here. You can rename it. It's not that important, but if you have a lot of materials, it will be a mess if you don't name them properly. So I have the other 2. If you don't have materials, by the way, just click on new here, right? Here I can just click on new, it will create a new one. Me, I use the old ones by clicking here, selecting the old ones, renaming it, and then I can use it. We are not going to see all the parameters. What I recommend is to crank up the roughness, because a burger look like this, it looks really fake. So crank the roughness, up at maybe the maximum. It's up to you. And then play with the base color. Don't play with the subsurface color. It's not the same. Play with the base color. And I don't know, just try to find the right value. And we go for something that looks like this. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Wow. So yeah, let's use this. Make sure you're using a pre-simple BSDF. And then the bottom one, instead of creating a new material, we can use the same bun material, like this. Then we can take care of the meat. So I will click on the meat. I will use one here because let's use the one existing. I'm going to call it meat. So this one has to stay on the grill a little more. So meat material. You don't have to put material, but I like to write it this way. You can write with spaces, stuff like that, but I use a camel case usually. And let's crank up the roughness to the maximum and change the color from something a little darker. Yeah, that's not bad. Maybe like this. All right, I won't give you my colors. Try to find yours. And the last one, so yet again, I have a material that is not being used, but you can click on new if you don't have any more materials available. I'm going to put the roughness actually lower because it's cheese. You know, like those fake cheese we really like. So it's kind of shiny. So let's go for not much roughness and then play with the base color. And let's use some kind of yellowish cheese. Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Isn't it looking great? I really can't wait to see your burgers. Please send me your burgers. I want to see what you did. It's kind of orange. Yeah, anyway, it's for advertising, stuff like that. Okay, that's cool. Oh, by the way, we didn't save. I hope none of you got problems like the computer crashing, stuff like that. Save a lot. Just press Command S. We are almost done here. I think we are done with Blender. Almost, we have to export, obviously. So, yeah, it's time to export. Yeah, we have our starter, so it's time to launch the starter. I will be doing again this part. So it's already running, and in our starter we have this. All right, can close this, can move this down. Sorry, I'm a maniac. All right, so our starter is empty, and if you open the console, you can see that there is an error because we are trying to load a hamburger.glb and it's not working. All right, I'm already trying to load the burger on the starter and we get an error. Anyway, we can rotate, stuff like that, so it seems to be working. So it's time to export our burger from Blender. First, what you need to do is select the burger. So select all the ingredients. Do not select the light, or maybe you have, I don't know, a cube over there, or maybe there is Suzanne over there looking at the burger. Stop looking at my burger, Suzanne. Do not select them, all right? Just select the ingredients because we want to export only the models, like that. So, select the ingredients, make sure you have all of them. In wireframe mode, you can just press B and select everything like that. Then you will go to File, Export, GLTF2. This one, all right? You select the ingredients or everything you want to export. Go to File, Export, GLTF2. Here, you will be able to choose where you want to export your burger. So me, it's going to be in the static folder. And let me check the path I put here. All right, it's in the static folder and then in models. And we need to call it hamburger.glb. And good thing I call it the Blender file hamburger. So by default, it's hamburger.glb. So hamburger.glb. You can remove the glb part. It will be added automatically. Actually, remove this part, because if you tweak the first parameter here, you will get a different result. Oh, by the way, he's adding it anyway, so thank you, Blender. And let's talk about the export settings. We have a lot here. First, we can choose the format. It can be binary, embedded, or separated files. And you know about this. It's exactly what we saw in the previous lesson. This is the default one. When you have a GRTF JSON file, you have the geometry as bin and you have the texture. In our case, we don't have any texture, so we can use this one. We can use the embedded where it's exactly the same, but inside one folder, inside one JSON folder, which is kind of strange. And we also have the binary version, so it's also one folder, but we cannot just open this inside one file, sorry. But we cannot open this file inside VS Code or stuff like that. So you can choose any of those. Let's start with GLB, why not? And you can also click on Remember Export Setting. This one is great because next time you want to export, all the settings we are going to see after and also the format will be preserved. I always click on this one. This way I can export really fast. I'm going to explain almost every settings that we right now. All right, just try to understand those. Not remember, just understand those. It's the most important part. First, we want to only export the selected objects. I don't want Suzanne in my 3GS, so I click on select objects. We don't have custom properties. We don't even know what are those. We don't want the cameras and we don't want the light. Anyway, because we didn't selected the light, they are not going to be exported. We could have, to get the same lights, maybe we could have export the punctual light, but we already have light inside the 3GS scene, so let's not export the light. About the transformation, this is great because right now we are saying, all right, from now the y, the up axis is the positive y. All right, so by doing this, our model won't be like on the side because we have a difference between the up axis between Blender and 3GS. Remember that Blender up axis is Z and 3GS up axis is Y. So right now we are doing the conversion just by clicking a checkbox. Thank you to the guys that did that. Do we want to apply modifiers? Yes, if you don't do that, you will get like huge squares. We want to apply the modifiers in the export. So we want our rounded burger. Do we want the UVs? No, because we don't need them and we are not using any texture. So you can remove the UVs. Do we want the normals? What are the normals? Yeah, by the way, UVs coordinates are how to place a texture on geometry. Normals, they tell for each, let's say, vertex, where is the outside. And this is very useful because we need those in order to get the light working great on our burger. So we need the normals. When you want something realistic, you need the normals so that the lights work well on your geometry. You don't need tangents. We're not going to talk about tangents. 3GS don't need them. For the vertex color, we don't need any vertex color because it's going to be material. Yes, we want the material, so just let the export. Image, we don't have image, so we don't care. And then you can click on compression. And this is the Draco compression. We are not going to explain everything here. You can tweak them. We are not going to tweak them, but you can. Just check the checkbox if you want the Draco compression. And if you have animations, well, you can just click on animation here. We are not going to use animation, so just uncheck the animation checkbox. All right, and when you're going to export, you will get those settings saved so that you can export again. All right, cool. You can test with or without the compression. If I test with the compression, I get something like, let's see my burger, it's inside static models hamburger over here, and it's 52. And if I test without it, so the same thing, all the same parameters, I remove the compression and I get, let me check, a lot more, 6 times more. So you can use any of them. I'm going to use the compression because why not? So let's export it again with the compression. See how Draco can be really useful. We have a lot of polygons inside that burger, way too much. So anyway, as you can see, it worked because my setup automatically refreshed. And we get our burger, all right? Maybe you need to change the name. So it's right here. So we have the load over there. Yeah, models hamburger. If you use another format or another name, just change it here until you get your burger. And as you can see, the burger looks kind of strange. I want to check one with the other. So yeah, it seems that there is a problem with the color. And yes, there is, but we are going to fix that in the next lesson on how to get a very realistic result. Anyway, it's working great. We have our burger, we have the geometry, and we can improve it, add other ingredients and stuff like that. I put some links so that you can improve and learn more about Blender. It's mostly YouTube channels, but not only. You have the Blender's YouTube channel, it's the official one. You have Blender Guru, this guy helped me a lot. I learned so much with its tutorial. You have Grant a bit, sorry if I say it wrong. You have CG Fast Track, a lot of videos in here, CG Cookie, and if I find new resources, I will put them inside the links panel, all right? Check the links panel, maybe there will be more inside. Anyway, there is one important thing. Make sure that you use tutorials that use a 2.8 or above version, all right? Because they did a lot of change between the 2.7 and 2.8, so make sure of that. And that's it. In the next lesson, we are going to improve how the models look. I hope you liked it. I hope Blender seems more easy now. Practice, send me your creations. I want to see your burgers. I want to see what you can do with Blender with only those 2 hours. And I see you in the next lesson.